Oh, God.
So for those of you who don't know, a tradition that we have at Unreasonable Impact is every evening we share fireside chats. These are a chance just to have a human connection, to get to know the person behind the company, behind the story of the business. It's about 12 minutes or so. It's totally unscripted. It's unplanned. And we just kind of see where it goes. Feeling good, Soumitra?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start just with the scale of the company right now. At Claro, how many teammates do you have? How many employees?
We have about 150 people.
150 people. And where are they based?
Majority of them are based in New Delhi.
In New Delhi, yeah.
But then we have 5 other offices.
Yep.
And then various cities in India.
Yep.
So about 60 people are based across those offices.
So majority in Delhi, 60 other people based across 5 other offices in India. And where are you based?
I am based in California.
Okay, that's where I wanted to start. How does that work? How have you managed, and we'll get into the business in a little bit here, but it's a complicated business. 150 full-time employees spread across India. You're in California. I mean, what's your philosophy? What's your approach as a leader who's working oftentimes remotely?
No, that's a great question, and I think it wasn't planned that way, but it has evolved, and I thought that our business is inherently going to be distributed. Yeah. It's going to be in every farmer's field. So as a company, we needed to have a DNA where we could work in a distributed manner spread across, at least in India, yeah. and working with basic methodologies. Some of that extended to me being based in the US as well. Yeah. But really where it has gone all well is that I have 2 partners who are really good executors who handled all the execution noise in India. And I'm mostly involved in the planning stage and giving direction in terms of what we need to do, why we need to do, and essentially getting money for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like these 2 partners you have an incredible amount of trust maybe with them. I mean, what did it take to get partners on board or teammates on board that can really handle the operations where you could trust that and let that go? Or was that there from the start?
No, that's a great question again. I found my co-founder in business school, and so knowing him for 2 years, what I would like to tell everybody, if I had to, that it's much more important to be with a nice person than an extremely skillful person. Yeah. And I found Karthik, my partner, to be this extremely nice person who's 10 years younger than me, twice as tall as me, but more importantly, twice as wise than me. Yeah. And I think he held the noise in India very well. And it was, trust has to be given, and you need to make yourself vulnerable, and then you need to see reciprocation, and that has worked well. And then he chose another partner whom he had trust from his undergrad, and we sort of went along, and so far I think, I think we are, I would say we are 3 people who are tightly wed with each other. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And Soumitra, you just mentioned meeting your co-founder at school. Your kind of pedigree in terms of degrees is almost outrageous. Can you quickly just share where you studied and what you studied?
Yeah, I think it is funny. It's embarrassing also. So I, just like in most people in India, we were beaten up to do well in acads. So I ended up in studying chemical engineering at IIT Bombay. Then I went and studied my logistics in supply chain at MIT. Yeah. Then I decided to do my MBA, and I did that at Kellogg School of Management. Yeah. And after all this studying, I am actually selling bananas.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's actually why I asked the question. Yeah. So that's why I asked the question. It wasn't to have such an impressive CV. It was with all of that knowledge and all of those degrees. What brought you to want to found Claro? Like why this?
Actually, so that's a very important question.
Yeah.
It was an inflection point in my life. I was getting all these education and deep knowledge and business school, they push you to think differently, challenge yourself and all that. And I did take that very seriously. So at some point in time, I figured out what am I going to do with all this learning and what I'm going, where I'm going to go. And I felt that, fast forward 75 years, I am what I'm going to be talking about myself. And I felt that I needed to do something to make myself that I have been meaningful. And I felt that India gave me that opportunity because there were a lot of challenges that could get solved. And so that's how I decided to dabble into solar and create this company with my co-founder.
Yeah, and you created or sold the first solar irrigation pumps in India, is that right?
Yeah, so that also was not intended, but that's how it happened. We wanted to become, India's largest solar company, and nobody, took us seriously, because they said that you needed to be a project finance person, and after business school, nobody has any money. So I said, okay, that business is out. So we engineered a solution for agriculture, and we felt that tremendous amount of diesel was being used, so I felt good that we are going to be solving another problem, which is global warming, if we were able to engineer a solution. So then the three of us as engineers got together, built something that married solar power with pumps efficiency curves very well, and engineered it to operate batteryless. Because all the solar pumps in the past in India had failed because battery went bad and it was too remote to serve it cost effectively. And we engineered that batteryless system. And suddenly, in 2011, we installed the first solar pump in India. It became really popular. We became the poster childs. And today, solar pumping has become an industry in itself. And I think people are projecting that this is going to be a $20–30 billion industry in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and you got the first one to market.
We got the first one to market.
Round of applause. So, what does that mean for a farmer, for a smallholder farmer who before didn't have solar irrigation? What's the difference in their day-to-day life?
Actually, the impact is immense. So I'll give a farmer story. This is back in 2011, the first solar pump installed, still working. The farmer used to grow only one crop, at the most two, and he was a subsistence farmer. The moment solar pump came to in his field, he was able to grow 3 crops. Then he slowly shifted his pattern to not growing paddy and rice, but more income-generating crops, because the certainty and reliability of water made him take that risk. So there was a behavior change. And lastly, he felt that he had no expense, no recurring expense on irrigation. And today, he's one of the wealthiest farmer in that neighborhood. His child had a problem. His child had a hole in his heart. He did not have money to sort of get him operated. But now, he sent his kid to, he took his kid to Bombay hospital, got him operated with the accrued savings he did over the last 4 years. So, and there are many such farmers. In fact, not me, but when my partner goes into these villages, he is treated like some, celebrity. People, just carry him on their hands and take him and chat with him. So the impact has been in farmers' life,
And how many farmers are using your pumps now?
Today, 25,000 farmers.
25,000. That's incredible. And I know in so many ways it's almost the first step for you in the company. Can you share with us where you're taking the business and what the vision is?
Yeah, so solar irrigation, actually, none of us were agriculturists, so we did not know anything about agriculture, but it was an insight into this huge, inefficient agriculture industry in India. India is the second largest agri producer in the world after China. And there is massive efficiency. Food is wasted. We've heard statistics, 30%, 40% of food is wasted even before it reaches any one of us, which I felt that is quite sad, because that food was grown with the water that we provided in the first place. It's 70% of that is water wasted as well. And then it rots, produces methane, which creates greenhouse gas issues. So it's also environmental. And then all this food would also grown using diesel. So there also we emit emitted, CO2. So I felt that the best way to solve it, if I'm able to efficiently reduce the wastage across the agriculture supply chain using basic supply chain fundamentals that I learned back at MIT, at least put some education to use, then I would solve 4 or 5 problems in one go. Yeah. So I thought that, why I shouldn't do that. And so now, we're trying to position the company with, with solving wastage problem using solar irrigation as an entry point in this whole value chain.
Yeah.
I'm extremely excited.
And how do you solve the waste problem?
Yes, so in India, if you know, there are multiple middlemen along the way. There are multiple handshakes that these fruits and vegetables have. They're all perishables. Yeah. So the more time they spend between one person and the other, the more rotting happens. Also, there is no infrastructure. Basic infrastructure is lacking. Again, why? Because there's no electricity in India, and people use diesel pumps, which then destroys the economics. So nobody wants to put up a cold storage to preserve freshness of fruits and vegetables. So we want to essentially create an efficient supply chain that goes from farmer to a retailer in less than 12 hours. Yeah. And with basic supporting infrastructure, which is based on solar-powered cold storages, for which we have the expertise in-house. And we want to do it in a very small area where there are 70 million poor farmers, and that region has about 400 million consumers. So we think we can do it. Super excited. We've done this one city, one crop, and now we want to really do it well.
And it's work. You literally, with that crop, 12 hours from harvest to retail?
Yes.
And you're already doing it?
Yes.
And now you just want to take that. You said 17 million or 70 million?
No, there's 70 million farmers, but we want to supply 20 cities and about 50,000 retailers that will be supplying to roughly around 4-5 million people.
Yeah. I think if anybody could do it, it's Soumitra. Unfortunately, we're at time. I have so many more questions for you, but beyond grateful, beyond humble that you're part of this community. I sit here in awe as I hear just little pieces of your story. So let's give Soumitra a huge round of applause, a huge amount of gratitude.
Thank you.